I'm back. It's been a while. I just thought I'd come back on here and do another video. Now, to be honest, what inspired this video is me and my brother. It was, I think, sometime last week, I think. We were watching the movie Us, and before that, we watched the movie Get Out. And I was kind of thinking to myself, you know, a lot of horror movies nowadays have gotten to the point where it's just nothing but jump scares, and it's not really scary as it used to be. Um, but to be honest, after watching Get Out and watching Us, I kind of started thinking, both of those movies are like, at least in my opinion, really, well, not I wouldn't say really scary, but um, they are horrifying in a way that horror movies should be. Um, that's why I don't really like, Paranormal Activity and all the movies like that, because they're not really scaring me, because all it is just jump scares. So, it doesn't really do anything for me. But those two movies really were pretty horrifying to me. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this video that Chris Stuckman did, and I'm gonna be commentating over it and everything, and because he basically talks about a lot of points that I agree with. So I kind of want to just go through it and kind of give my take on what I think is scary and everything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just bring up the video real quick, and then we can kind of go in and dissect it together. So yeah, here we go.
Asked for films like Enemy, Prometheus, or Only God Forgives. While planning this discussion, I decided that style was perfect for this video. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the problem with horror movies today. I was inspired to make this video for a few reasons. I saw an Australian horror film called The Babadook, and because of having to sit through 2014 releases like The Quiet Ones, Annabelle, and most recently, Ouija.
Yes, and to be honest with you, I saw both Annabelle and Ouija, and yeah, both of those were terrible. Now, don't get me wrong. The second Annabelle movie was actually pretty good. That was actually a pretty good one. So I don't really, want that in with the first one, even though they're connected in some way. I still don't like to put those together. But the second one's not too bad. That one's actually the better one of the three, to be honest.
Also due to reading opinions of this year's psychological thriller, Oculus, but mostly what I want to discuss is audience expectation, how that can ruin a good horror film, and more importantly, have audiences forgotten what real horror is. In my opinion, the horror genre is the most widely
And that's sort of true in my opinion, because to me, like I said earlier, jump scares don't do anything for me. I've seen a bunch of, I don't know how many movies I've seen where all it is just fucking jump scare after jump scare after jump scare. And I kind of touched on this. If you saw my video, what was it called? Late Halloween special. If you saw that one, I kind of talked about that in that video somewhat. And it does annoy the fuck out of me, because whenever I hear people talk about like what's scary, usually it's something like you know what's a good one? Usually it's something like The Conjuring. Now, don't get me wrong, The Conjuring is a good movie, but to me it's not scary. Like I said, something like Get Out. In a way, that's more scary to me than The Conjuring, because with the movie Get Out, that's more so based in reality, because with if some of you have been keeping up with current events that's been happening, there's been a lot of like stories where you've had like black people dying, and they claimed it was suicide, but then later on when you found out the details, a lot of their organs and body parts, internal organs were missing, and you know no one knows what happened to them. But if you dig into it, you'll figure out what it is. And so that's why I figure, something like Get Out is way more frightening than something like The Conjuring, because The Conjuring is about, ghosts and stuff like that. So that's not so much. Well, I guess if you believe in ghosts, it is sort of based in reality. But if you don't, then it's not quite as frightening. Plus, most of it is dabbled with jump scares and all that stuff. So, yeah, for me, it's a bit more frightening because it has more of a, at least to me, a little bit more, realistic touch to it. Plus, that's something that happens to a lot of people in the world where, whether they go on a trip or wherever they're doing, or they're just walking to the store. Sometimes people get kidnapped and body parts get taken. A lot of that stuff happens. So it's just much more of a tangible, you know, what's the word? More of a tangible uh, thing that can happen to a lot of people. So I don't know, just a lot of that stuff doesn't really scare me. Like, and what also I don't understand is that, how come something like The Gallows that got a sequel, but yet something like I don't know, what's a good one? I'm trying to think of a actual good horror movie. Um, hmm, what's a good one? Why can't something like hmm. Well, I know The Babadook doesn't need a sequel, but I'd rather something like that potentially get a sequel, because that could be done in a better way. But something like The Gallows gets a sequel just never made sense to me. Because to me, to be honest, The Gallows, I've seen it. It's not that good movie. It's not a good movie. It's not scary. It's just overall terrible. So I don't understand how that got a sequel, but something that's actually good doesn't get a sequel. I don't understand.
Varied in film. There's countless subgenres: monsters, slashers, zombies, ghosts, nature, aliens, torture, comedy, and my personal favorite, psychological. This is perhaps why I've always gravitated to scary and suspenseful films. As a genre, the use of imagination is almost unlimited. But lately, imagination is a word that studios, horror filmmakers, and as a result, the audience has completely forgotten about.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I do agree with them. I personally do like psychological thrillers, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's my favorite. Now, my favorite genre of horror movies has to be slashers. That's always been my favorite. Um, Now, don't get me wrong, I do like horror movies in general, but slashers happen to be my favorite. So I can understand where he's coming from, because psychological thrillers, I wouldn't say all the time, but a lot of the time they are pretty good ones. So
Here's a comment I recently came across on IMDb. Okay, this is meant to be a horror, right? You wait all through film to see this thing just to be let down. Yes, the atmosphere is creepy, but the end ruined it. Imagination is for kids. I wanna see the monster at the end. Big letdown. This comment was in reference to The Babadook, which I recently had the pleasure of seeing. If you haven't seen it yet, don't worry, I won't spoil anything for you. It's a dark, soulful film about a mother and son dealing with grief and a monster that lurks in the darkness. This commenter seems to be upset that he didn't receive much of a look at said monster. He also seems to have completely missed the point of the film. The Babadook is the best horror film I've seen in 2014.
and that's how I look at it, man. Because you know, when it comes to certain movies, you have to go in with a level of uh, how should I put it? You have to go in with a level of expectation. Like, always go in with to a movie with low expectations. That way, if the movie doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to, that way you won't be disappointed. You'll be like, oh yeah, it went the way I thought it would go. So, in my opinion, like, since we're on the topic of monsters, see, I saw this movie. It was called The Monster, and it came out in 2016. Um, if you haven't seen it, you probably can look it up on YouTube and you'll see find it. But it's basically about a little girl and her mother. The mother is basically taking her daughter to stay with her father because I believe they were divorced and stuff like that. So she basically traveling at night and getting to a crash. And I won't spoil it, but basically they sent around this monster that's hiding in the woods and you know trying to kill them and everything. But for me personally, the reason why I like the movie so much is not so much because of the monster or what the monster does, but it's more so that because I actually care about the characters. I actually care about the little girl and seeing her get through the movie and be safe and all that stuff. And what what scared me, well, I wouldn't say scared me, but what creeped me out is not so much the monster, but so much, you know, the thought that the little girl's in danger and she possibly could die and all that stuff. That's what creeped me out more the than not seeing the monster, or seeing the monster, whatever the case may be. Um, but that's what did it for me because, you know, I was actually invested in the characters and everything. So, and that's how just film in general should be done, not just horror movies, but film in general. So, and that's what I like to see in more movies because if you care about the characters, then 9 times out of 10 you'll be somewhat scared because you're like, oh, what's gonna happen to this particular character, this particular character, or you're more so worried. I guess is the best way to put it, worried about the character. But that's how it is for me. It's not so much that the monster itself is scary. It's more so about the suspense and like the you know worried worried aspect of it, where you're more so worried about the characters getting out of their lives and for their well being and all that stuff like that. So that's what does it for me. Not so much, oh, this monster looks very scary, blah blah blah. That's how I at least look at it. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, when I first watched the movie, I didn't necessarily go in there, you know, because I wanted to see the monster, because I just wanted to see if the movie was good or not. And yeah, I watched the whole thing. It was actually a good movie. So, um, but the only time I ever would say something like that is if I was going to watch a Godzilla movie, because Godzilla is the main character. So of course you would want to see him in that type of movie. But since the movie The Monster is not really so much, the focus is more so much on the daughter and the mom. So that's where it should be more so focused on. Yeah, I know it's called The Monster, but I'm not gonna get into too much to it. But it's like you see more of the mom and daughter than anything else. So it's kind of where more stuff lands at anyway. So I don't think it's that big deal that that happens. So I wasn't really disappointed. But I mean, I know some people would be. That's just not how it was for me. So yeah.
It deeply unsettled me, and not just because of its effective atmosphere and cinematography. The true terror of the film is its implications, the hidden meaning of the monster, and its excellent exploration of grief and depression. All of
Exactly. That's a very well spoken way to put it. That's pretty much what I was trying to say. You know, for lack of better words, that's usually how it is for me. That's how I would look at it. Going into a movie like this is more so, to the implications and kind of like the underlying meanings and all that stuff. That's how it is for me. At least I know not everybody's like that. More people get scared by jump scares and stuff like that, but that's just not how it is for me. And I know somebody's gonna say, "Well, oh, what's the point of watching horror movies then?" Well, there's a lot of reasons to watch horror movies, not only to be scared, but have a good movie, have good, characters, all that stuff too, as well. So that's just how I look at it.
This was beautifully realized in an Oscar-worthy performance by the luminous Essie Davis, who perfectly displayed the looming insanity that consumed her character. The film currently stands at 96% on Rotten Tomatoes and 90 on Metacritic. Mature and discerning horror fans have shown major appreciation for the film's lack of cheap jump scares and the tasteless scare tactics of many modern-day horror films.
Exactly.
And yet, that's also the problem. For many audience members today, the term scary has a completely different definition. For some, it seems a film's scare level is measured by how many times a loud noise or sound effect made them jump in their seat. This is the curse of the jump scare. It is the single easiest scare to accomplish.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out because I totally agree. It is definitely one of the easiest scares you can do is because it really, honestly, it really takes no effort because we've all seen it before. Oh, the cat comes jumping out the closet, or oh, the friend taps you on the shoulder, or some stupid shit like, oh, dude comes around the corner too fast, or some stupid shit like that. And it's like, to me personally, it's not that scary. Like, you could see it coming a mile away because in every horror movie, here are the signs. Number one, the music starts to blare up, starts to play in the background. That's sign number one. Sign number two, the person is not talking. There's no noise besides the music. Number three, that the person, you know, keeps like walking through a dark house and saying hello, blah blah. And there are like many other signs too to let you know that a jump scare is about to happen. So it's basically ineffective before it even happens. And that's why I don't like jump scares. That's why I just think they're stupid as hell because at the end of the day, you can see it a mile away. Like, come on, man. It's like so easy to pick up on. That's why I seriously dislike them and don't understand how people still get scared by them to this day. And that's why I seriously have a problem with them, man.
There's no real effort put into it,
Exactly.
and the exact same technique is used every time.
Exactly. It's so obvious. So fucking obvious, man.
All sound suddenly drains from the movie, no one speaks, there's no music, and then suddenly an ear-piercing jolt rings through the theater and everyone jumps because a really loud noise just happened. Often it's revealed to be one of the main character's friends, or some other type of false scare. Please observe this scene from the original and highly effective horror film Halloween.
And that's what I'm talking about right here. See?
Jesus.
Obvious.
Are you alright?
This is how a false scare should be portrayed. Look at it this way, and this may be a little vulgar, but it's true. Horror movies should be like sex. You don't want the audience to blow their load too early. Now bear with me on this one. If your audience begins to associate everything frightening in the film with loud noises and sound effects, then your film will build to nothing. The climax of the movie won't be effective in the least because the audience has already had all the tension released too early by countless jump scares, making what's actually supposed to be frightening near the end tiresome. Let's examine that scene again, but how it would be portrayed in 2014.
And see, build up, build up, build up, build up, build up, build up. There you go. See?
Jesus. Are you alright?
With
And see, that's not really scary at all. That's just loud noise. That's all it is, man. It's kind of like jump scares are kind of like fast food. It's cheap, not good for you. It's pretty bad for your health. A lot of negative stuff. It's not really good in the least. Now, if you have a home cooked meal, depending on what it is, it's really good. So, I'm just saying, like, I'd rather watch, the movie Get Out and Us a billion times than to watch, something like a Blair Witch Project the second time. Because I've watched that movie. It wasn't scary at all. Just in my opinion, just horrible. Didn't really like it. Wasn't for me. Um, but yeah, and something like those two movies, in my opinion, actually have genuine moments where it's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of creepy, and it's like I take that any day over, something like the fucking Gallows or something. I'd rather watch those two movies a billion times before I watch that movie again. I swear, straight terrible, man.
This absurd noise, all tension has deflated from the film, and the music has now told us that the sheriff is the one to fear, not Michael Myers. The jump scare is the cheapest tactic used in horror films today, and the most frightening thing is, its rampant use has caused many audience members to forget what true horror is. Another deciding factor is marketing and audience expectation. A primary example I often reference is The Village, a film by frequently maligned director M. Night Shyamalan. Many view this as the film where Shyamalan began to lose his talent. But did he?
Yeah, because that is true. Because I was really young when this movie came out, and yeah, with all the trailers and stuff, it did make it seem like it was supposed to be a monster movie, and not about anything else. So yeah, the marketing team did kind of fumble with that shit, man. They really did fuck that up, man. Because the whole time you thought, oh, this is gonna be a monster movie. We're gonna have all these creatures, blah blah blah. But then when you actually watch it, it's nothing like that shit, man, at all.
Or did our expectations for the film we wanted to see let us down? The problem was the marketing, something Shyamalan has since regretted approving. The trailers made the movie out to be a creature feature, when in reality it was a period piece romance. I remember being vastly disappointed with the twist ending because my friends and I had spent months excitedly trying to figure out what the creatures would look like, only to discover the film was actually a love story in hiding. Years later, the film has since become more respected, especially for Roger Deakins' gorgeous cinematography. Unfortunately, since most horror directors have zero clout in the industry, they rarely have a say in what goes into their trailers, so most good horror films are mismarketed to try and appeal to a mass audience mentality. For that reason, the trailer for The Babadook is marketed as a creature feature. The trailer has over 1 million views on YouTube. That's over 1 million people expecting a monster movie who will leave the theater disappointed that they just watched a challenging and mature psychological thriller because all they wanted to see was a monster.
Yeah, and that is true. It kind of sucks that happens a lot of time, and that's partly the reason why I don't watch trailers anymore. Is because a lot of time when it comes down to marketing, they normally misrepresent what the actual movie's about. And the number two reason why I don't watch trailers anymore either is because trailers a lot of time give away a good amount of the movie. Like for example, Terminator Salvation. The trailers for that movie basically gave almost everything away. And by the time you watched the movie, you basically knew a lot of shit about the movie. So it was like, what's the point of even watching it? So that's why I don't even bother with trailers anymore. Now, if I hear about a movie, I'll try, and if I want to watch the movie, I'll try to avoid all trailers as much as possible. And I'll try to avoid social media and all that stuff too, because you know how people like to spoil stuff. So I do my best, my best to avoid all that stuff. So that way, when I actually go into the movie, I know nothing about it. My expectations are low, so that way when I come out of the theater, I'll, you know where I stand, whether I like it or not, or whatever. That way I'll be fresh and I won't have to worry about, you know, all that BS, surrounding it.
Talk about Oculus, which is currently my second favorite horror film of the year behind The Babadook.
Never
I've seen
seen
it twice now, and upon the second viewing, was even more impressed with the seamless, non-linear storytelling than I was.
I've never seen Oculus. I heard it was okay. I mean, I've never seen it, but I may have to eventually get around to watching it because it sounds like it could be a good movie. So I'll I'll give it a chance at some point.
Was the first time. It's a film about an evil mirror and its reign of terror on a helpless family told across many years. I'll never forget my experience at the screening. When the credits ended, I was literally the only person praising it. Everyone was saying the exact same thing to me. Really, Chris? You liked it? Why? It wasn't even scary. I fear this is because of something I'll reiterate. Audiences have forgotten what real horror is. Did I jump in my seat when I watched Oculus? No, not that I recall. Isn't that great? The writer-director
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan cleverly uses the story of two children witnessing their parents slowly go insane, their father chaining their mother to a wall as she rips out her own teeth, the eventual repressed memories of adulthood, and the looming terror of mental illness. These things are scary. And
Yeah, in my opinion, I do agree because a lot of the time, what he just mentioned is a lot more terrifying because, like I said earlier on, when a lot of the time when movies kind of touch upon stuff that happens in real life, that's a bit more terrifying to me than a bunch of jump scares, blah blah, all that bullshit. That's not scary to me. Now, if any of you guys have ever heard of the game Hellblade, Sin with Sacrifice, if you've never heard of it, I have a stream of that on my channel. In a way, that could be more scary than what you see in these movies nowadays to me. Because that game actually has to deal with a person's mental illness. And if you've never experienced that type of mental illness before, it can be a bit more frightening than if you've never dealt with it before. Than someone jumping around a corner and screaming and all that stuff. It's cheap and just a waste of film if you ask me.
in fact, they're terrifying. And yet, movies like Annabelle, a shameless cash grab to leech off one of the better horror films in recent memory, and Ouija, a movie about a fucking board game, continue to top the box office. Let's talk
Yep.
about James Wan, the director of Insidious, The Conjuring. Clearly, the man understands the genre, but you might be thinking, Chris, you're being hypocritical. Both of those films were littered with loud sound effects and jump scares. Yes, they were, but they weren't false. All of the terror generated by those films were from things you're actually supposed to be scared of. Wan understands what modern audiences find frightening while also respecting his more mature audience members by avoiding false scares. And yet, studios don't care about anything I just said. All they care about is the numbers. It's been made painfully obvious since 1978's Halloween that horror films can be made for cheap and rake in absurd profits. The Blair Witch Project and the seemingly endless Paranormal Activity series has spawned a new subgenre in horror called found footage.
Exactly, and don't get me started on fucking found footage. I really, 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 really fucking hate found footage movies. They really piss me off. I just hate how they're done. I just can't stand them. I just really can't. But I can get on that in another video at some point, man. But I just can't really fucking stand those movies.
According to Box Office Mojo, the budget for Blair Witch was $60,000, and it raked in $248 million. Paranormal Activity was made for a mere $15,000 and grossed an astonishing $193 million worldwide. Remember the universally hated Chernobyl Diaries? Yeah, it grossed 37 times its budget. Wasn't Apollo 18 such a gigantic misfire? Not really. Even though it only grossed $25 million worldwide, it still made 5 times its budget. Wasn't The Devil Inside terrible? Guess what? That thing grossed 101 times what it cost to make.
And see, this is what I'm talking about. This goes in what I was mentioning earlier. Movies like Annabelle, The Devil Inside, Apollo 18, Chernobyl Diaries, all these movies are shit. But they make all this money, man. It's ridiculous. But movies like Get Out. Now, don't get me wrong, Get Out and Us did very well. But I'm just saying, it's very hard for movies like that, or Oculus, or The Babadook, to have anything else come from it. It just annoys me that movies like those kind of get somewhat shitted on. But not. Well, don't get me wrong, people do like those movies. I'm just saying, for the most part, people kind of don't really like those, but they'll go and see something like Annabelle or something. It's annoying, man. It's really annoying.
Nearly everyone I've talked to agrees that Annabelle was an awful movie. As of right now, that film has a worldwide gross of $231 million on a budget of just $6.5 million. Or how about Ouija? Currently, this film has just had its second weekend at the box office and has already grossed $42 million worldwide on a budget of just $5 million in its
which is dog shit. Straight dog shit.
first weekend. More people went to see this board game movie than the excellent action thriller John Wick. And in its second weekend, the film basically tied with Nightcrawler, one of the best films of the year, for first place. I'm disgusted by this. I've talked to not one single person that liked Ouija. Not one. I've been told by some people that I pay attention to the box office too much, and that I shouldn't let it bother me. Unfortunately, it bothers me because I know this is what the studios are looking at. They don't care if anyone actually liked Annabelle or Ouija or any of those found footage movies I just mentioned. They will make sequels and prequels until they stop making money. I've made this video to implore people to reevaluate what good horror is. I'm concerned by the rising trends I see with today's moviegoers, and if you are too, please share this video in the hopes that we can generate awareness for this disturbing pattern that's infecting the horror genre. What are your thoughts on modern day horror? Let me know what you think in the comments section, and as always, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.
And there we go. And honestly, if we want to talk about this, honestly, my opinion on modern horror is that I understand it's not all, but majority of it is garbage. And now we can always say that, oh, the early 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s had a lot of garbage movies as well. But for the most part, at least those movies actually had more to it than jump scares. For the most part, there was at least something in it that was actually good. For most of these modern movies, like Paranormal Activity and all these movies like that, most of those, all they are just jump scares. That's all they are. There's nothing else to them. You don't really give a fuck about the characters. You don't give a fuck about anything. The only thing that people actually remember from the fucking movies is the jump scares, and that's it. Tell me something else you actually remember from those movies besides the jump scares. I don't really remember much from the movie except for that. And maybe the ghost, but that's it. Nothing else. Now, what I'll do is I'll leave the link to his channel in the description, just in case if you want to check out his movie reviews, because he does that on his channel. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of modern day horror movies. What are some movies that actually scare you? Because I know, or creep you out. Because I know Jeepers Creepers. That's one that creeps me out. Get Out. Uh, Us. What else? Trying to think. Oh yeah, the movie The Monster. That's another one. Um, that's another good one. Um, shit. I haven't seen a lot of good horror movies in a while. Um, oh yeah, Annabelle Creation. That was another one. That movie was actually another one I put on the list. But yeah, it just it gets out of hand. That's why a lot of these newer horror movies nowadays I don't even really like most of them because it just that's basically all it is. It's the same thing with video games nowadays. All people care about, when they play video games nowadays is graphics, graphics, graphics. They don't give a fuck about the story, the characters, none of that shit. Tell me I'm lying. Because every video I watch of people playing video games nowadays, the first thing that comes out their mouth is graphics. And that's what pisses me off is that a lot of people nowadays, not everybody, but a lot of them, all they care about is graphics and, jump scares. It's like they don't really care about what lies beneath that, for the most part. I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying most of them are that way. And that's what kind of pisses me off about just modern horror movies and a lot of stuff, really. But yeah, it just really does, you know, get on my nerves, man. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. I don't want to be on here talking for too long because I could talk about horror movies all fucking day because I really love them a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and get off here because I don't want to, waste too much more time. So, you know, definitely go check out Chris Duckman's channel. I'll have it in the description. Um, so just in case you want to subscribe and check out his stuff and all that. But don't forget to, like the video, comment, subscribe, and make sure you share this on social media and everywhere else too, because it's important for people to, you know, see this video because maybe then more people will rethink, what they consider horror movies to be and everything, and so that way people will know what to look out for. Because trust me, it's easy to spot a jump scare. Like just like he said, the sound will drain out, or the sound will be like really blaring, and no one's talking, and they're just looking around the house, and all of a sudden the cat pops out, or someone taps them on the shoulder. It's just easy to figure out. Just go through and watch. I don't know. Just go into YouTube and type in like jump scare compilation from horror movies, and you'll easily better point it out. I'm just saying, it's so fucking easy to point out. So if you do that, I'm telling you, man, you will definitely. If you do that, you'll definitely. From now on, you'll better point them out like easily. So I'm just saying, just make sure you guys, share it and do that, so that way more people will, know about this. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. You know, definitely, definitely glad that I have people that come and watch my stuff whenever I post it, even though sometimes it does take, it is a while before I do make videos. But it's good to see that people still come and watch. But thank you guys for that, and see you in the next one. All right, peace. I'll see you guys. I don't know when I'm gonna do the next video. I'll just have to figure it out. Um, I'm not too sure. I'll, let you guys know whenever that may be. But yeah, um, I don't know because I gotta do work and all that stuff. So I'll just figure out some time. But yeah, all right, peace.